Swinging a high drive into center field. It's at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied!
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Welcome back to Play Tessie. It's episode 120. Actually, it's 122. If you're listening on drop day, it's August 30th. This is the official podcast of Going Ziplining Using a String, also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, rate us 5 stars. We really appreciate it when you guys do that. Also, we're on YouTube on the WEI channel on the Play Tessie playlist. If you're there, you can give the videos a thumbs up, and you can also go subscribe on your podcast platforms because that's truly what helps us out so much. So we really appreciate you guys doing that. As always, on the socials, at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Here with Sammy and Pat again. And boys, we just went through a 5-game series. It was a 5-game series with significant downs. It had more than modest ups, and it finished with a down. Now, after the first day / first 2 games, the Red Sox dropped the first 2 in a doubleheader in brutal fashion. They just did not come to play, and they dropped both those games, and you start the day 3 back, and you end the day 5 back of the Royals, and all of a sudden the Twins are the closer team, and now your focus shifts there. And at that point, after that doubleheader, I want to say the majority of people, at least on Twitter, were declaring the season over. It felt like that was pretty commonplace, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I was using serious restraint to not declare it myself. My rule of thumb is the season is not over if you're before September and you're less than 6 games out, you have a chance. And especially with a team like the Twins, who you have a head-to-head matchup with coming up, certainly not dead. And would you look at that? The Red Sox win the next 2 games, the Twins lose the next 2 games, and bang, 3 games, and all those people who declared the season over all of a sudden aren't looking so smart anymore. And then the Red Sox lay a complete offensive egg in the 5th game of the series. Where we stand now, the Twins did not have a game. It is 3.5 games out. I think the season is certainly not over, but after that first day, when I really in my heart I wanted to declare it over, but I just wasn't there yet. It does feel like we're on borrowed time. That's what it feels like to me. It feels almost as if like the Red Sox were diagnosed with a terminal illness, and it's like, yes, certain death is coming, and it's coming within a day, but it's like now we're 3 days later and we're still alive, and you're not dead yet, and you're wondering am I just going to be alive for a couple of extra days, or did I get misdiagnosed and there's something here that I didn't know was here? But that's just where I feel like we are right now, and we have a doctor's appointment where we're going to find out soon if we were misdiagnosed or if it's just you made it a couple extra days longer than the doctor thought. But man, they need to play better baseball. We expected them to win this series. We all 4 of us on this show predicted them to win 3 out of 5 in this series, and they lost 3 out of 5. They won 2 out of 5 and are really only hanging on by a thread because the Twins keep losing, but that's only going to last you so long. So we'll see what comes from there, but not really a great spot right now.
Yeah, they're terminally ill in the hospital, but they got a double blood type in the Twins, who are just I don't know. I don't think they're that great. I think for a while, I think we've been kind of ruminating on the idea of maybe the Twins being more likely than the Royals, because if you look at the rosters on paper, the Royals are a much more complete team. They may not have the star power outside of Bobby Witt Jr., but top to bottom, I think that's the better team. And the Twins are made of glass with Correa, Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton. I mean, that is the most injury-prone team you're going to find. Joe Ryan out for the season. So a lot of injuries there. They're keeping the Red Sox alive by being inept themselves, but still, even if that's the way you're staying in the hunt, as a fan of the Red Sox, it doesn't really feel good. I'm not feeling I'm not feeling inspired. I know they're only 3.5 back. Still got 3 head-to-head matchups against the Twins, and they got 3 White Sox games at Fenway left. The White Sox, who are fighting to not have the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball, so they're bad. If you didn't get that, yeah. So they're certainly not out of it, but I'm not feeling too hot about it.
It's like you said, Sammy. Like outside of Bobby Witt, the Royals on paper don't look like they should be as good as they are, but they're good everywhere. They're great at shortstop, obviously, but everywhere else, they're good. Like that's a sound roster. It's built to win. It's built to do what they're doing. The Twins, on the other hand, it's weird. They have more star power over there, but they're much more gettable. They're much more catchable because the rotation is pretty iffy. Who knows what you're getting with Correa? Royce Lewis plays 5 games. He hits 3 home runs. Then he's on the IL for 2 weeks. It's a whole lot in the air for Minnesota. I feel a lot more comfortable and confident that we could catch Minnesota. I think Kansas City has just really hit a stride that I don't think they're going to come down from.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, as we record this, the Royals are up 3-2 in the 8th, and the Red Sox are down 6 games of them, and it could be 6.5 by the end of the night. So we look at the rosters all we want, 6.5 games out, and you're about to head into September. That's just not a team you're going to catch. I don't really care about the schedule. They're playing that well. The way I see it, you got to look inward, and the Red Sox are going to need to go on a serious run if they're going to catch anybody. The Twins have not played good baseball. They've lost. I think they're currently on a 4-game losing streak. I could pull up the schedule and find that out for sure. But they've lost a bunch of games, and they're the ones keeping you in this. But unless the Red Sox win a bunch of games, that's all that's going to be, is just keeping you in it. You got to make a run yourself.
You know what the difference is between the Red Sox and the Royals. Both in 2023, they're last place teams. You know, the Royals had a lot of injuries themselves. Red Sox had a lot of injuries. Either way, both last place teams, both not good teams in 2023. I hate to say this, the Royals added a pretty good amount of major league talent, like Lugo, Waka. They added legit pieces, and they didn't go the cheap route, which they often do. The Royals are known for that, but they didn't in the 2023-2024 offseason. And now when it's time for the rubber to hit the road down the stretch, the Red Sox are the team sputtering because they're the one who said we could rely on internal candidates all season long for like the 47th season. And the Royals didn't. And now you're seeing the difference. They have a legit rotation full of veterans, and those guys are keeping them afloat. And the Red Sox are like, you know, the lineup is iffy on certain nights. You got, I don't want to be a jerk, Mickey Gasper hitting second. So that's not the only thing, but I think that's making a difference now. And when you're late in the season, August 29th, as we're recording, I think that's where you see a lot of those differences. The guys who have been there before, been there, done that. The Red Sox just don't have as many of those guys this year, which is unusual. Normally it's the other way around with these two teams, but this is the other side of the coin.
You know, I don't know exactly how fair it is to say that the Red Sox relied on internal candidates, because they did make attempts this year. Like, as soon when Costas went down, they got guys, and they made several moves at the trade deadline. The Red Sox and the Royals were pretty even teams, I think, for the majority of this year. And then you look at the trade deadline, and you look at the moves the Royals made, and man, they've just all worked. Like, Urseg has been huge at the back end of that pen. DeYoung has come in, and he's been like a legitimate addition to that infield. Michael Lorenzen, another starting pitcher that they needed. Like, they had that 3-headed monster at the top, but after that, it was kind of so. He's been solid for them, and now it's kind of 4 guys. Like, they got additions at the deadline, and the Red Sox, they tried. I'm not going to sit here and bash the deadline. Like, at the time, I thought it was an okay deadline, and nothing has worked. You have James Paxton, who made 2 starts, done for the year. You had Luis Garcia, who had like a 10 ERA. Now he's on the injured list. You had Lucas Sims, who had an 8-ish ERA. Now he's on the injured list. Danny Jansen hit a little bit at the very beginning, but really hasn't since like his 3rd or 4th game with the Red Sox. So you had 2 teams that were even, and the Red Sox, in essence, got worse at the trade deadline because the additions they made have basically been subtractions with how they've performed. Whereas the Royals, I mean, their bullpen was their biggest issue, and look what they've gotten there, man. It's not I'm not saying it's a huge strength. Like, that's still probably the weakest point of their team is the bridge to the ninth. But man, it's a lot better than it was. That's
the additions they made are just like higher quality offseason and the deadline than the Red Sox. And I know we can say the Red Sox tried. They did. I agree. We all thought the deadline was okay. Didn't think it was great. But the Royals, man, like the biggest one is Lugo, who I've put on fraud watch all year long. I haven't been right once, so I probably should take him off.
You were right when the Red Sox faced him.
Yeah, true.
The Red Sox got him twice.
You know what? I got it right one time, and then I kind of tried to stick with it, and I used it too many times. But point being, like guys like Lugo, who we just spoke about, Waka, and then at the deadline, Urseg. Was Harvey deadline?
Yeah.
I think he was like the first deadline move. So they made a lot. Will Smith in the offseason. That's a guy who wins the World Series every year. Just happens to be on the World Series winning team. So I don't know. Whether it's the deadline or the offseason, I feel like the Royals have made higher quality additions to their team. And right now that's making a huge difference.
I think too, like, I think in a vacuum, in terms of impact moves, like when they were done during the offseason, I think everything was pretty like lateral. Like I think Waka and Giolito, like those are guys, Waka and Lugo and Giolito were all in the same like echelon of starting pitching. Two of them worked out. They're both for the Royals. Like it was just everything that kind of was done in the offseason between the Royals and Red Sox felt pretty even, but the dividends is what's the difference, because it has been complete polar opposites. Yeah. Like not even in the same stratosphere. Everything the Royals have done so far has worked perfectly to a T.
It's true.
Deadline,
it's kind of like the 21 Sox in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Good comp.
Like everything they did panned out perfectly. Lugo, phenomenal. Waka, somehow still kicking. Like everything, great. It's the Urseg is lights out.
Poor Breslow.
I know. I feel for him because it's not like
supposed to know. Like, okay, if we go let's go down the list. Giolito, the picture of health, the picture of logging innings. That's why they got him.
Durability, man.
Never gets hurt. Doesn't pitch a single inning. Even you get like the deadline additions. You get two relievers, Sims, Garcia, both guys who were on fire when you got them. Both guys who have, decent track record as capable major league pitchers. Fall off a cliff. Chris Sale hasn't been healthy since 1993 or whatever, back when I was a boy. And then they traded for the Royals. Oh my God, you got Vaughn Grissom. You got 6 years of Vaughn Grissom for broken down Chris Sale. Vaughn Grissom's in AAA. Chris Sale legitimately might win the Cy Young in the National League. Heavy favorite.
Cy Young.
There's no way that anyone could have predicted any of those things. I don't want to completely give him a mulligan, but Breslow's had some unbelievably bad luck with additions and subtractions that conceptually made a ton of sense and just haven't panned out.
And I think, too, on the other side, it's not like this Red Sox trade for James Paxton and the Royals got Tarek Skubal. Like it was Michael Lorenzen and James Paxton, one of which blew out his Achilles. The other's been good. And then I think in a vacuum last month, if you asked me who would be a better hitter from July to September, Danny Jansen or Paul fucking DeYoung, I would say Danny Jansen. Like, what's going on?
They're both kind of mid.
Yeah, but man, Paul DeYoung is. I can't believe how well that's worked. But let's. I want to loop this back because this conversation that we're having is kind of like they're dead conversation, and why did the Red Sox not make the playoffs and the Royals did make the playoffs? Truth of the matter is the Red Sox are still 3.5 out. Even though, as I said at the beginning of the show, it does feel like it's like a borrowed time situation. And
terminally ill. They're not dead. They're just terminally ill. I can't say that. Terminally ill.
Yeah.
Terminally ill.
Terminally ill. And we're trying to figure out if it's just a matter of time or if we were misdiagnosed after that sweep of the doubleheader. Let's look at the Twins, the team that they have to catch. So they have lost 8 of their last 10. They just got swept by the Braves. Before that, they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. Before that, they dropped 2 out of 3 to the Padres. and they lost the last game of a 4-game Rangers series before that. Moving forward, I'll read off what they've got left, and you guys can tell me how you feel about it. 3 at home against the very Blue Jays, who just took 3 out of 5 from the Red Sox and are playing actually reasonable ball, even though I think like 2/3 of their lineup is unrecognizable. Then they've got 4 on the road against Tampa Bay, 3 on the road against Kansas City, then 3 at home against the Angels and 3 at home against the Reds. Then 4 on the road against the Guardians, 3 on the road against the Red Sox, which hopefully that's an important series.
Please.
And then to finish off the season, 3 at home against the Marlins, and then 3 at home against the Orioles, who in the last series of the season, you just got to hope that they're not like, you got to hope that there's a fight for the division happening there, because if there's not, and the Orioles are locked into that top wildcard spot, like they'll be resting guys, and that won't be as hard of a matchup as you'd think. So I'm kind of 50-50 on the schedule. I don't think it looks easy. I don't think it looks hard. Like it almost, you'd have to be relying on the Twins to shoot themselves in the foot, where the truth of the matter is you need both the Red Sox to play better baseball than they've played in months, and the Twins to continue as bad of a stretch, their worst stretch of the season. You need them to continue that. You need both of those things to happen to an extent.
The White Sox series is a huge difference. Like I said,
Sure.
that is, I'm not exaggerating. This is not 1% in exaggeration. Baseball, which is well over 100 years old, this team, the White Sox, are fighting to not be the single worst team in the history of Major League Baseball. So I think that's a big, big, big difference. I know it's 2 series away, if I remember correctly. I think it's Tigers, then White Sox. So still got to get over this hump, the
3.
hot Tigers team.
3.
Tigers, Mets, White
Tigers,
Sox.
Mets. Okay. So still 2 tough series before you get to the White Sox. So I don't want to keep saying stuff like this, but if you stay afloat versus those 2 teams, then you get 3 against the White Sox, which you absolutely have to sweep, not just win.
Yeah.
Sweep that series. That is this may be the one time I will ever say on this show, you have to sweep. So
I think we're going to be saying it a lot, Sammy, because I think we're going to get to a point in time. Like there's a chance that we have to say that in the Twins series. At this
let me
point.
rephrase. Have to sweep as in like expected to sweep, not like, because like if you have to, if you quote unquote have to sweep the Twins, that doesn't mean I'm going to expect them to do it. It's like you have to do it to stay in the race. I'm not expecting it. I expect them to sweep the White Sox, but we'll see. They've already lost 2 to the White Sox, but they also sold off pieces. So
here's the issue, Sammy. How many times have we, and like, honestly, I feel like it was more of an issue last year, and maybe I'm just like, there's a little bit left over, but we saw it with this Blue Jays series. Like this was a series that we expected the Red Sox to at minimum win, and we hoped that they were going to at least grab 4 and maybe even all 5. And they ended up with 2, even though for the Red Sox, it's like, this is do or die time. And for the Blue Jays, it's, we've got what, a month and change until we go home for the winter. And yet they couldn't win that series. So it's tough because like, I remember this in 2021, and they had 2 series to finish the year. It was the Orioles, who at the time were terrible, and the Nationals, who were still really bad at the time. And they lost that first series to the Orioles, even though it was such a must win for the Red Sox. It's like sometimes these games against the easy teams, it's like I don't know what it is. It feels like they lose them. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and talk about the White Sox. It's just it's going to be a matter of you got to win all these series and you got to sweep the ones that are sweepable.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that this gets within your control. Otherwise, you're relying on the Twins to do more of what they've been doing, which I know that they look a little bit vulnerable, but this isn't a team that's going to go through that stretch against the Angels and the Reds and drop 4 out of those 6. Like they're going to win probably 4 out of 6. So you got to do something yourself. You got to do something to force this situation at least somewhat within your control, so that when that Twin series comes around, maybe you're back 1 game. And if you win the 2 out of 3, then you can grab a share of that 3rd wild card. But you got to get to that point.
I agree. It's I feel like all season long, everything we think they're going to do, they don't do. And then whatever we don't think they're going to do, they do. So watch them get swept by the White Sox and then sweep both like the Twins and the Mets and Tigers or whatever. Just nothing makes sense, which seems to be like the theme of the season. This is a weird, very weird Red Sox year. I feel like you could say that for a lot of seasons, but this one specifically with like Netflix and just like Jamie Westbrook coming up, Mickey Gasper, all these interesting stories. Rich Hill today. A lot of weird instances with this Red Sox team, for better or worse. At least they're fun.
So obviously we're going to preview the next series. Before we do that, five games on one podcast. We're not going to run through each individual game of a 5-game series. It's just not good podcasting. Ridiculous amounts of time. They lost 3 out of 5. It wouldn't be fun. But what I do want to do here is talk about some of the things that we liked and some of the things that we disliked. Should we start with the likes or dislikes first?
Dislikes. I think you got to end on a high note, right?
Yeah. Let's get it out of the way. Dislike. Offense.
Okay. Yeah,
Next.
Offense.
Cool. Moving on.
I'll read you the runs in each game.
Oh, God. Yeah.
All right. So 1 run in the first game, which was 8 innings. 1 run there. And then 3 runs in the second. So they scored 4 runs in 2 games in the first day. Then day 2, they scored 6 runs in 1. Day 3, they scored 3 runs and 1. Day 4, they scored 0. So a total of, 3, 9, 10, 13 runs in 5 games. And I know Raffy didn't play 3 of them, but I don't care, man. Look at the Jays lineup. They were able to score runs. A lot of teams score runs without their best guys. You gotta do better than that, especially when the offense is supposed to be this team's biggest strength down the stretch. I feel like every time we declare this team to have a major strength, it like automatically turns into a weakness. Like the second we acknowledged that the bullpen was like, holy shit, this is a legit strength, it became ugh.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes back to this weird season where it's everything that we predict. It feels like the reverse happens, so we start to predict the reverse of what we think is going to happen, and then we go in this weird cycle. It's so hard to get a feel for this team. It's such a young group. I feel like that's part of it, why it's a little tough to get a handle on. Are these guys actually good? They do a lot of good things, but they're not consistent with it. So where does that leave them? Is that a good team? I don't know. We have to see. But it's just frustrating because you keep thinking like the Blue Jays, 5 games, here's your opportunity, seize it, and they can't. So also, by the way, really, really appreciate you guys not mentioning the Danny Jansen game. I am so sick and tired of hearing about the Dan. There's another weird thing for the season, by the way. I don't know how I left that out, but God damn, I am so tired of hearing about this. Holy crap. It's interesting. He's the first guy to play in 2 games. End of story. But I digress.
Yeah, it's offense in this series. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I didn't like. They pitched pretty well.
Defense wasn't great. The defense, even when they weren't racking up errors, it was still like game 4. They didn't make many errors, but the defense was a little shaky. Like it didn't look like Casas had a ball go off his glove directly to David Hamilton, who throws the guy out at first. It's a lot of weird stuff like that. Yeah, man, this is a tough team to figure out. You really want to believe in them because they're fun and they're young, but like I think people the season's over. People are like afraid to get hurt or something.
I found another thing that I didn't like in this series. I totally, it feels like forever ago, but the second game of the doubleheader, it's gonna go forgotten. I'm leading in with a good thing. Zach Kelly was so good for 3 innings to start that game. And then Justin Slayton makes his long-awaited return with a scoreless inning. And then they go to Brad Keller. And that's going to be the thing that I don't like. Because the Red Sox lost this game 7-3. They were up 1-0 when Brad Keller came in. Brad Keller throws the 5th inning. And all 5 runs... Actually, no, they scored 7. But whatever. 5 of the 7 runs score in that inning. Brad Keller on the mound. He's the only pitcher that day that let up an earned run. He threw 4 innings. He actually didn't let up a run after that inning. I mean, it's not really worth talking about that much because he literally just got DFA'd right after. So he's no longer like, or I assume he's going to elect free agency again, or maybe he'll accept the outright assignment. I don't know. He's not going to be with the Red Sox.
I think he did.
Did he accept the outright assignment?
Yeah, he didn't know free agency. Him and Joely. Didn't they both?
Oh, did he do it too?
I believe so.
I saw that Joely did.
But that's the thing, though, Gordo. Like, I agree. Brad Keller, not great. I saw a lot of people getting on Alex Cora. Why would you put this guy in? He has to pitch. It's a bullpen game in a 5-game series. He has to pitch.
Well, let me ask you a question. was there any part of you that was annoyed that they didn't go to Fitz or Priester for it? Because both of them, like Priester would have been on. Okay, no. Priester could have gone Wednesday if they wanted to move Criswell up to the doubleheader. So they could have gone Criswell, but then Priester
No.
would have had to go the next day. Is there any
No.
part of you that's upset that they didn't do that?
No, because it's tough. Well, okay, start with Fitz. Fitz is not expected to be a special major league pitcher. He's supposed to be a back end rotation guy, which is good. It's valuable. If they're not bringing him up for a situation like this, I have to assume they do not think he'll do well in a major league setting. And then Priester is just brand new. He's only had 4 or 5 starts with the Red Sox. So I understand them not wanting to bring him back to Major League Baseball where he's struggled, where he's probably working on a ton of new stuff. He's with a new staff. We already saw the pitch mix change from his first start to his most recent few starts. So, and on top of that, Brad Keller, not a great pitcher, but I believe his last few outings, he's been passable. Good. Not good, but passable, where you can stomach it at least.
His stuff was looking good. His velocity was increasing. But no, Sammy, I actually agree with you. I think a lot of fans got frustrated that they didn't go that route. Fitz is on his best stretch of the season in months, and I think it's important to continue that momentum through the end if you can. And I don't think Priester is ready for big league games yet. He's getting whiffs, but as you said, Sammy, they're working on so much new stuff with him. His velocity is increasing. Things are looking like he's like a work in progress that's looking good, but it's almost as if you took Miguel Blaze and put him in the majors today. It's we think he's going to be really good, but the guy's in single A. He's not even close to ready. So even though the potential's there, it's he's not going to be ready and good today.
Yeah. The thing with Keller is you kind of alluded to, Gordo, he didn't pitch that terribly. He had one really bad inning and then was fine. It's just he couldn't limit the damage in that one inning and they couldn't make up the ground. So in the end, it kills you. The stat line isn't great, but if you're analyzing it as a pitching coach, you go, all right, he had one terrible inning and then he settled in. So I'm not going to miss him, but I stand by that move. I think it was the right thing to do because they don't have good org depth, and now it's even worse.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, and Sammy, I agree with you. I think Fitz is a guy that they like what he's doing in AAA. I don't think you mess with that mojo for a one-off call up to maybe get shelled at the major league level. It's just not worth it. And then from Priester's end too, another thing, he's already had some options used, and those options might be valuable even further down the stretch or next year. And to call him up for a bullpen game in a 5-inning series or 5-game series in the end of August, it's just, to me, it's not worth it, especially when he's working on so much mechanics and he's just really trying to get back to what everyone thought he was going to be a couple of years ago when he was taken in the first. It's just, you got to think beyond this game right now. I know it's hard with the wild card race, but fucking those guys up for a one-off start, it's just not worth it. You just go Brad Keller.
Yeah, can you imagine? I like what you said about Richard Fitz. He's been, pitching very well in AAA. He's not blowing anyone away, but he's been consistently good, and the Red Sox seem to like him. Imagine he comes up for a start, pitches 2 innings, gives up 7 runs, doesn't strike anyone out, just gets the shit kicked out of him. You send him back to AAA. He's back in AAA. He's thinking about this. Now it's the offseason. He has to sit on that major league start where he got absolutely fucked up. He's got to sit on that all offseason long. That can't be good for a young guy, confidence-wise. And people can roll their eyes all they want about it. These are young guys. The confidence factor is important. We've seen it. Jarren Duran. Look how much better he plays when he's confident. It's not a perfect example, but you get the point. So I totally agree, Pat. I think it would have been big risk, small reward if they brought up Richard Fitz.
So in the end, I feel like the discussion worth having isn't, because I don't think there was anything wrong with going to Keller there. They just don't have the options. That is the overarching problem here. They just don't have the organizational pitching depth in the upper minors to have guys that can make these starts when you need them. And to be honest with you, when you're a fringe playoff team, shit like that is the difference between you making the playoffs and missing. If they had the type of pitching depth, and obviously these are the premier teams in the sport, Like, you look at the types of guys that the Dodgers and the Astros have had go down, and like I'll just read off a couple of names on the Astros of starting pitchers that are down right now, just alphabetically. JP France, Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers, Verlander was down for a long time, Urquidy down. Like, they've had like a full rotation of guys miss tons of time, and in some cases have guys be out for the season. But you have the depth of guys that step up. Ronel Blanco wasn't expected to be a starter, and now he's really good. Spencer Arrighetti was not in this big league rotation. He's come up and he's been good. Hunter Brown has turned himself into basically a number one starter, if I'm being honest with you. Like, they've got guys that have just stepped up into these roles. It's because they develop it. It's the same thing with the Dodgers. They've had more than a rotation of guys go down for them, and they've had plenty of guys step up, and they're still a first place team. But the Red Sox they need to go for one game in a doubleheader or skip one Nick Pivetta start, and it sets you back because you got to go to guys like Brad Keller. Like, once you're past the Cooper Criswell point, and Cooper Criswell is a fine depth starter, I'm more than okay with him being one of the 6 through 10 guys that they have. But after you get past that point, they have nothing. And that is truly what needs to be fixed going into next year. And I really do think that the development of guys, of the guys we just talked about, Richard Fitz and Quinn Priester, is going to be huge for that. Like, obviously, I think they have higher hopes for a guy like Priester than being a depth arm, but that's where it starts. And you get your opportunity by being that depth arm. And that's how you win that tryout to be more than that and maybe secure yourself a spot in the rotation longer term. This is the issue, is it takes years to get to that point. And man, it really is the difference. Like, think about how many games have been blown up by having to throw guys like Brad Keller, or like when you've needed Chase Anderson in the non-mop-up roles back when he was with this team. Anytime the Red Sox had arms go down, that's when you lost games that were winnable. And those are the types of things that keep you out of the postseason.
Can you imagine if instead of throwing Brad Keller, they had a guy who was kind of like rookie year Garrett Whitlock? Like a guy who was not, maybe not your best prospect ever, but he comes up to the major league level and he can give you 3-4 good innings, 1 earned run, 2 earned runs, but you're comfortable with it. That would be a massive difference maker.
Or even like a Brian Johnson type.
Yeah.
Like, Brian Johnson was not a earth-shattering prospect, but he was a decent AAA starter, and he could eat innings at the major league level without absolutely throwing up everywhere.
Brian Johnson.
You don't need a stud. You don't need somebody to come up and almost take on a role that's below them. Like, Brian Johnson was exactly what you needed. Like, that's what you need. We're not asking for first-round picks to come up every fucking day. I'm asking for Brian Johnson. I'm asking
Hector Velasquez. No, but like, this is the thing though. It's like this is how the best teams in baseball operate now. Is they've got 10 guys. They've got 5 guys that obviously are their 5 starters, but they've got another 5 guys behind that. So no matter who goes down, where you are in the rotation, you're gonna have a guy that's able to step in. And eventually you get to that point where you've got now your 6th guy steps in, but your 6th guy is actually pretty good, and he could be a lot of teams' number 4. It's going to be something the Red Sox eventually have because they're putting so much, money, investment, time into the development of pitching. But we said this a million times in the offseason when people kind of expected like this new pitching infrastructure to snap their fingers and reverse everything. And all of a sudden the Red Sox were going to have amazing pitching. This is something that's going to take years. And I think the biggest step is going to need to be next year. What do they do with Quinn Priester in the offseason? Because I think the offseason is going to be where they really get into the nitty-gritty with him and do whatever it is they think they can do with him. But let's before we get into the preview, I know they only won 2 games. Let's talk about what we liked. For me, the number one thing, it's a pretty obvious, clear, defined number one thing, was Brayan Bello. He was spectacular. 8 shut when the team needed him the most. He, 2 hits and 1 walk, 9 Ks, just carved up a lineup that Corey even said after the game that the Jays in the past have given him fits, and he did whatever he wanted with them. And it's not even like a game where the Red Sox were up, 7-8-0, and he, was thrown out there to eat innings and save the bullpen. No, like, this was a 1-0 game for the majority of the game, and he just had their way with him, man. He did whatever he wanted with them, and every inning was high stress. in terms of going into the inning, but it wasn't high stress in terms of, crowds on the base paths or anything like that. Bello, he walked through that lineup, and he's allowed one earned runner less in 3 of his last 4. He's got a 3.7 ERA in his last, I believe, 11 starts. He's turned it around to the point where he's right now, I would say, a solid mid-rotation caliber guy, but you see it in starts like this. What else is there? And it's just like if you can get a couple of things tweaked, decrease the walks from 3-ish a game to 1 or 2. Location of that sinker is key, because that slider and changeup are on a different level right now. The velo is great, but if you can get that command down consistently, you see what he has there. Like, so much to tap into with Bello. It's just exciting when you see it for a start like he did this week.
He's been pitching so well that he might actually salvage his season stats. He had like a 5.5 ERA a little bit ago, and now he's down to 4.66. So, Gordo, I know you're into that. You like the making the stats look pretty. So that's a good one I like it too. So that's good for him. But the thing I noticed the most with Bello, I was at the game on was that Wednesday night when he pitched. The pace was great. He was not waiting around. He was get the ball, throw it, get the ball, throw it. So many strikes. That was like such a good game to go to. I wish there was a little bit more offense, but couldn't care less. They won the game. Bello was absolutely electric. I got to rewatch that one on TV. And also the Pedro Martinez blue sleeves.
Sleeves, yeah.
The hell of a. I don't like when people compare Bello to Pedro. That's like if you Celtics draft a guy and they're like, this guy's a lot like Michael Jordan. Like, it's not fair. But aesthetically looked a lot like Pedro on Wednesday night.
I want him rocking the blue sleeves like Matt Judon rocked the red. I need him every outing. The man in the blue sleeves.
No, it really is that, isn't it? Because no one wears blue sleeves. It's like no one wears red sleeves on the Patriots. Like that shit's not.
You know what I'd like?
No one wears
when
blue
they used
sleeves.
to do when Nomar would do the Nomar did the blue sleeves and the turtleneck. Yes, he had the turtleneck with the Red Sox logo on the side of the neck. That was 90s, early 2000 looking baseball right there to a T. That's beautiful artwork.
Yeah, so Bello, oh God, I'm excited for his next start, because you just want to see how he could build off this. And you want to see, like, so many guys wear down. We see it with guys on the Red Sox. You see it across the league. Guys wear down as you get to the end of the season. Bello seems to just be getting stronger. I know the Diamondbacks kind of got to them, but they're getting to everybody. And he's still in the middle of that game, had about 4 straight innings where he dominated that lineup. So we will see his next start. We'll see what he can do to build off it. But another strength, another thing I liked in this series, Cutter Crawford in the final game. 6 2/3 from him. That's not something we've seen. They allowed him to kind of approach that 100 pitch mark. He almost got through 7. I mean, he kept the Blue Jays off the board. The one thing that just kind of killed me was when he pitched to Vlad with 2 outs and a man on third. It's just put him on and face Horwitz. But outside of that, man, like, a lot of soft contact. Just I thought he looked really good. It's good to see that from Cutter. You want him to finish the season strong.
Yo, am I nuts, or have there been an unusually high amount of situations this year where we've all said, why would you pitch to that guy? Like Vlad, Judge, Jordan the other day.
Seager.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
dude,
that series.
When I was mid-text texting you guys, like, why would you pitch to gone? I feel like there's been a weird amount of that where I know a lot of people be like, oh, you can't put him on. It's like the tying runner. He's the go-ahead run. But a lot of the times I'm like, I still think that's better than pitching this guy. He's hitting 572 over his last 6 games. Why not just put him on base so he doesn't hit the ball to New Hampshire? And luckily Vlad didn't do that, but he was close and it still hurt the Red Sox. So agree with you, Gordo. I would prefer if they stopped pitching to literally the one guy in the lineup that can hurt you.
The lineup is kind of Yankee-like, except there's only one. It's like Vlad is the only guy in that lineup that I have really any fear for. And they still pitch to him. And I mean, that one run felt like 10 just based off of how the Red Sox were hitting.
What about Dalton Varsho, Gordo? He's an analytics darling. Dalton Varsho.
Oh,
he's so good. I promise. I promise he's good. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But
right. Yeah.
before we move on, Can we briefly discuss how disgusting Bowden is?
Dude, yeah, Bowden Francis, holy shit.
Bowden Francis.
Does he have a Savant page yet? He has to have crazy good spin because he was throwing 89 to 92 mile-an-hour fastballs, and the Red Sox could not hit it. Like it was, he has to have a crazy spin rate. I don't know what
This guy threw 8 no-hit innings in his last start, and then lost his no-hitter in the 9th on a homer. Comes into this start, and what did he lost his no-hitter in the 5th, if I'm not mistaken. Was it the 5th inning?
I believe so. And it was the man we all assumed it would be. It was Nick Sogard.
Like, yeah. I mean, that's going to piss me off if the Blue Jays just like fell ass backwards into a dude here. But what are you going to do, man?
How did they get him? Was he like a...
You want to know? I'll tell you. You want to know how they got him? You want to know who they traded?
Who?
Rowdy Tellez.
No. Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Rowdy Tellez.
Red Sox
back
killer.
in the day. Yeah. So, oh my God, he's haunting us from the grave.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. If I'd known that going into the series, I'd have predicted 8 shut from him, to be honest with you. I'd have done it. Last thing I liked in the series is just more starting pitching. Seems like a million years ago, but Nick Pivetta, even though it technically was Penvetta, even if you disagree with me on that, Sammy, it was Nick Penvetta. 10 strikeouts, 6 innings, technically out of the bullpen. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, 10 strikeouts. He pitched really well. It's frustrating because his mistakes at the end were highlighted because the Red Sox did not score runs. That's the problem. It's the same thing with Cutter in the finale. It's the pitcher's mistakes get extra highlighted when you don't score any runs. If the Red Sox had 5 runs, we don't really care that he pitched to Vlad in that one spot. If the Red Sox scored 7 runs for Pivetta, then it doesn't matter that, he kind of fell off a little bit at the end of that start. All of our issues go back to the offense in this series. It's just very frustrating in that regard.
I will be damned if this podcast goes further without mentioning Rich Hill.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'll get to Rich
that Hill. Dude was a motherfucking monster.
That was fun as hell. Watching that, I had home plate seats. I was like literally 8 rows behind home plate, and watching Rich Hill like just toy with guys from back there. It was 4 batters, and he got them all, and like no one hit the ball hard or anything. Was there 2 strikeouts in there, if I'm not mistaken?
At least one. The crowd went nuts when he got the first one. Wait. But hold on. Before we get to Rich Hill, Pat, I need you to settle a debate. Please take my side. That was not bullpen Pivetta. That game started 2 months ago, and they resumed it. He did the full starter routine. He came out of the bullpen like a starter. That's only bullpen Pivetta by a technicality.
What inning did he start? What inning did he start his outing in, Sammy?
Here's the technicality that I alluded to. He started it in the 2nd inning, which was the 1st inning of the day.
So who started the game? Who started the game? Not the day. Who started the game? It was Cutter.
Cutter? Yeah, Cutter.
All right. So who was the second pitcher for the Red Sox?
You know what this is? This is like when someone pokes you like, I'm not touching you. It's like, technically you're not. Technically this is Penvetta, but it's not.
Pat, was it Penvetta?
It was not Penvetta.
Oh, you motherfucker. Boom. Come on. He came in the game in the 2nd inning. It's Penvetta. It's a mentality. We got to have this guy follow Bernie because there's no one better than opener Bernie, and there's no one better than Penvetta. I don't know why we haven't been doing that all year.
You want to bet? One Piece Night Bello is the best pitcher of all time.
So we just got to order like hundreds of thousands of those bobbleheads to give them away.
I'm going to talk about this. This is going to be my enough said for our next episode. I got to talk about One Piece Night. That was nuts, but we'll get to it next episode.
All right. Any last thoughts on Rich Hill before we get to the series preview? Because we are running on time. We got to fly through that.
I'm a numbers guy. I think it's hilarious that he wore number 44. I know it's his old number, but he's 44 years old and he's wearing number 44.
That's funny. Yeah. That's objectively funny.
Yeah. Rich Hill, the man. I feel like everyone universally loves Rich Hill. Even if we don't love that, not us, the Red Sox have to turn to a 44-year-old guy who hasn't pitched all year to salvage the season, but we still love him.
Friend of the program.
We love Rich Hill. Friend of the program. 2 strikeouts. 2 inning and a third perfect. 2 strikeouts. Got Vlad Jr. out, so it wasn't just slubs. Like he was legitimately good. Let's move forward. Series preview time. All right, you guys ready? Detroit Tigers time. You might hear Detroit Tigers and think, these guys stink. They're above 500 right now. They're 68 and 67. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Angels. They were on a 6-game win streak before the finale of that series. They are coming off a loss. They're 13-4 in their last 17 games. So you are running into the Tigers at probably the worst possible time. But we'll get through the pitching matchups here. Tarek Skubal is in here, but it gets better from there. The first game is Tanner Houck versus a TBD on the Tigers side, but I believe it's going to be Casey Mize starting his first game since June 30th. Oh. He has a 4.23 ERA for the year and 78 2/3 innings. Second game, Nick Pivetta versus Tarek Skubal. Skubal, who is, he's the overwhelming Cy Young favorite. There's really no stats I need to throw at you for him. He's the best pitcher in baseball today by my standards, in my opinion. Game 3, the Red Sox have a TBD, but I tend to think that this is going to be some sort of Cooper Criswell type game, whether he starts or follows an opener or whatever. And he's going against this guy, Ty Madden. Let me tell you a little bit about Ty Madden. He has one career start. He just made it. 5 innings, 1 run, but it was against the White Sox, and he walked 3, and he struck out 2. He's the Tigers' number 16 prospect per pipeline. You want to know what his ERA in 18 AAA starts was this year?
Oh, God. You're going to say something stupid like 0.83.
Let's take guesses. Sammy, what do you think it is?
0.83. I'll stick with it.
Pat, what do you think it is?
4.62.
In 18 AAA starts, Ty Madden has an ERA of 7.97.
Oh, we got a shot. No. You know what this means? You know what this means? The Red Sox are going to
screwed.
They're going to destroy Tarek Skubal and then get shut down by this Ty Madden fellow who
we will not possibly hit the guy who has an 80 ERA in the AAA. There's just no way.
No. So Cy Young favorite destroyed. Yeah. 80 ERA in AAA, 8 shutout innings.
Cy Young favorite who's a lefty, I might add. This is the worst possible matchup in baseball.
In a pitcher's ballpark too. Detroit is tough to hit in. So, but
it's true. They're on the road here. We'll quickly go through the batters. We'll get some predictions. It's less speed now with David Hamilton down, but do have good speed in general. All right, hitters. Javi Baez gone. Not going to see him. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's up to you.
What happened? What happened to Baez?
I don't know what the injury was. I just know he's Dunsky. Okay, other guys they have. No one gives a shit about Kerry Carpenter for some reason. No one cares. He has a 932 OPS for the season. He has a 984 OPS in his last 14 games. People need to start giving a shit about Kerry Carpenter. I know he's got a boring name. Whatever. Joe just tells us right hip surgery for Javi Baez.
He's got a boring name.
Yeah, Kerry Carpenter, boring name. His name's Kerry. Yeah,
that is kind of a boring. I wonder if that plays a factor, like marketability.
Oh my God, it so does.
Kerry.
No one wants to buy like a jersey with a generic name on it.
Well, that's not true. I saw a lot of people wearing Jones 10 at Patriots games the last few years.
All right, but that's a quarterback. Get out of here.
Fair.
All right. Also on this team, Riley Green, their best player, I think. 19 bombs, 830 OPS. Actually, psych, not as good as Kerry Carpenter. Just kidding. He's definitely better. Parker Meadows, 921 OPS in his last 20 games. Zach McKinstry, 950 OPS in his last 21 games. Spencer Torkelson got called back up, and in 12 games since then, a 1002 OPS and 3 bombs. This is why they're on their win streak, is these guys are all playing good baseball. Let's get our predictions, boys. Joe, I know none of us got it right. We all said 3 out of 5.
Right. So, yeah, standings the same. Sammy 14, Pat 11, me 10, Gordo 7.
So, I have written down here 2 out of 3 because I like the matchups for the first and the third game. But I think I need to take I just need to take matters into my own hands. I think when I predict them to win series, they never do. All right. The question is if I'm going to go 1 out of 3 or get swept. I think I'm going to go for broke. Our best chance at seeing a Red Sox sweep is if I predict that they're going to get swept. So I'm going there. Sox get swept.
I like it. Pat?
I think they win 1 out of 3. I think they win the tie. What's his fucking name's game? And I don't know what to expect from Mize. Mize has been, I won't call him a bust, but he has not lived up to a number 1 pick, but he's shown flashes. So that game is a coin flip just with how the Sox are playing. I'm going to say loss. There is no way in hell they beat Tarek Skubal. In my eyes, absolutely no shot. So they drop the first 2, they win the last one.
Sammy?
They're winning 1 out of 3. They're going to win the Tarek Skubal game.
I like that prediction. I almost that if I went 1 out of 3, that's what I was going to do.
This is the. I've said it multiple times in this episode. This is the weirdest team ever. They are gonna lose the first game because Casey Mize is kind of not a bust of a prospect, but he was the number 1 pitching prospect in baseball, and he hasn't been anywhere close to that. Ty Madden has a 9,000 ERA in AAA, so they're going to lose to both of those guys. And then Tarek Skubal is completely unhittable, so the Red Sox will kick his ass somehow and win that game, which makes no sense, and that's why I'm picking that to happen. So 1 out of 3, they're going to win the middle game.
I'm looking at Joe's face right now, and I feel that whatever he says right now is going to happen. So, Joe, be careful with what you say here.
Nah, I'm thinking like if I want to catch Pat and Sammy, I got to be a little bit different. I was going to say 1 out of 3, but now I'm going to say they win 2 out of 3 and they lose the Skubal start.
I think that's reasonable. That's what I would have done. I think if I were
let's go with the
using
reasonable
logic.
predictions for guys.
Yeah.
I almost did that, but the reason I didn't, I was like, that makes too much sense. There's no shot. Not going to happen.
If we're being honest, if the Red Sox want to win this series, the way you got to do it, I'm assuming Casey Mize is going to be on some sort of pitch count. You got to get to the bullpen early in that game. Don't let Tarek Skubal finish 7 innings, and then you just kick Ty Madden's ass in the 3rd game. There you go.
If you win that first
the
game,
strategy.
that's huge because you got Houck on the mount. You don't want to lose that game.
Oh,
that would be if they lose today, as you're listening on Friday. That's a devastating loss. You're ace on the mound, and then you got Skubal the next day. Please win. Please win.
And not
Friday.
to mention, too, if the Twins win and the Red Sox are back to 4.5 out, the fan base is going to have like yet another meltdown. So best to protect us all from that. But we got to fly here. We got to get to Crystal Bomb. Pat, hit us off, man.
All right, Joe, quick score update. It's time for Crystal Bomb.
Bomb it.
Bomb it. Joe.
Well, just like in the series predictions, no one got anything right.
What did we call? What were the picks?
Oh, I will gladly go through that. Pat went with Danny Jansen and didn't get it right.
Close.
Sammy used his Raffy pick, and he only
that's
played
brutal.
in 3 games.
2.
Only 3 games. 2. Okay.
Screwed
Gordo went with Masa Yoshida and struck out, and then I went with Tristan Casas.
Wow.
So
Damn.
terrible time for the bats to go cold. Sammy still at 20, Gordo at 18, Pat 8, and me 5.
Was O'Neill the only home run?
Yeah.
Damn, man.
No, Duran.
Duran hit 1.
Duran and
Oh, Duran
O'Neill.
hit 2. He hit 3.
3.
Oh, that's right.
Hit
That's
3.
right. Yeah, what are we talking about?
Oh, yeah. Thing I liked about this series, Jaron Duran.
We don't really watch the games, guys. We don't actually follow the Red Sox. We're reading a script.
Holy shit.
Script
All
writer
right.
forgot to put that part in.
Pat, pick the order.
All right, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
God, I was not ready to go first, but I will go. Let's go crazy and let's go with Sedan here.
All right.
You love picking Sedan.
I just feel like he's. I always go. Oh wait, actually, I can't pick Sedan.
He likes
I
picking
just
someone he
realized.
can't.
I just realized. I'll go Thick Willie. I'll go Abreu.
Ooh, all right.
Damn you. I was
All
going
right.
to take Thick Willie.
Gordo.
I'm going to go Tristan Casas in a pitcher's ballpark. I just want someone who I know can blast one and clear it by a lot. So let's go Tristan.
Oddly enough, I had the same thought process, but not for Tristan. I was thinking who can run the bases as fast as fuck on a ground ball to right center field. I'm going Jared Duran.
I like it.
Oh,
Sammy.
man. I'll go Tyler O'Neill. I haven't picked him in a while. They're getting a lefty in one of the games. He's actually, I mean, he's not hitting. But I don't really have many options right now. I'm going to go Tyler O'Neill.
All right.
I like it, man.
I
All right,
dig it.
Sammy. Kick us off, man. It's time for the final segment.
We ain't losing this one because everyone's a winner in guys being dudes.
Chihuahua.
All right, we've done Tigers one time before. No repeats, or producer Joe will virtually smack you in the face. Who's going first?
I'll go first. I'm pretty confident this isn't a repeat. I just had no idea that this guy played for the Red Sox, but he played for the Red Sox and the Tigers. It is San Francisco Giants manager Bob Melvin. Played 41 games for the Tigers in his first season in the majors in 1985. 0 homers, 220 average, 540 OPS. And then he played 77 games for the Red Sox in 1993. He hit 222 with 3 home runs and a 564 OPS. I liked his little picture in the baseball reference icon. It had like a picture of him in his playing days, but if you highlight over it, it just like pulls up a picture of him now. He is significantly older now than when he played, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, it makes sense as he's old.
Just old.
Yeah, he's old. All right, Pat, who you got?
Who do I want to go here? I had a couple. I think I used one of them. I'll just throw it out there because he's going to be off limits anyways. But I thought about Doug Fister. I hardly know her. I used him a while ago, but fuck. All right.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go because I'm stuck between two guys. Just go.
All right. So we've talked about how bad the 2020 Red Sox are, and we like to highlight, like
I know who
Zach
you're saying.
Godley.
I know who you're saying.
Okay, well, this is for the listeners as well.
I know who you're saying.
All right, I'll just get right to it. This guy fucking sucked. Matt Hall.
Oh, that's not who I thought.
Oh, who'd you think?
Oh, wait. Why did I think we were talking about the A's? I thought you were going Andrew Triggs, but I was thinking A's.
Done Triggs. See, this is my point. We talk a lot about that 2020 team. Triggs, Godley, Springs before he became an all-star miraculously. Josh Osich, but Matt Hall. Boy,
awful.
Did this guy stink it up. So let me give you a run now. 2018, 5 games. He was dealing. Psych. He had a 14.6 ERA. Not great. Following year, 2019. Let's give it another try. 16 games this time. A little bit better. Cut that ERA in half to 7.7. Not great. So he's got, at this point, a 9.48 ERA with the Tigers over 21 games. And the Red Sox said, that's our guy. Bring him aboard. They brought him aboard, and he continued to absolutely shove. Batting practice. 4 games. 18.69 ERA over 8.2 innings. Gave up 18 earned runs. Which, if you're not familiar with baseball, that's bad. Matt Hall wasn't good for the Red Sox, but hey, no 2020 Red Sox, no Marcelo Meyer. So count your blessings. Shout out Matt Hall. We love you.
Wow, shout out all of the it's like the Chad Ryland thing. Like shout out Chad Ryland for getting the Patriots Drake May. Shout out Matt Hall, Zach Godley, Andrew Triggs, Jose Peraza. I don't know why I just named a non-pitcher. Josh Osich, the ostrich. All these guys, Marcelo Meyer in this organization because of those.
You know what's funny is Verdugo was nasty in 2020, and that was the one time we didn't want him to be nasty, and then he stunk.
MVP candidate that year, man. Go find his ranking for MVP that year. It was like legit. I think he was the legitimate top 15 finisher.
Verdugo, I will tell you right now, in 2020, he was 12th.
Damn, man. That's insane.
That's stupid. He had a 123 OPS plus. Obviously, they didn't play that many games. 844 OPS, and he decent defender that year. So, yeah, that's dumb.
Pat, you got someone?
I do. I wanted to make sure I wasn't stealing anybody's. I'm going to throw them both out, but I'll pick one. The one guy I thought of was 2004 World Series champion. There is no better stereotype journeyman reliever than Mike Myers. That's who I was thinking of, but I'm going with, let's go back in time. Nomar Leaves. Orlando Cabrera's here in 04. The Red Sox bring in Edgar Renteria, which is an absolute shit show. They need a defensive shortstop to take over the reins, a defensive wizard. They bring in none other than Alex Gonzalez, who actually finished his career in 2014 on that damn good Tigers team.
Wait, oh my God. He was around that long?
And the weird thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I just found out that Alex Gonzalez and Jose Iglesias were teammates.
Yeah, I mean, because Iglesias was on the 13 Tigers because he made that error.
Yeah.
So he was definitely on 14. That's crazy. Those two guys, that's great. They just like feel like completely different eras of Red Sox baseball.
I know. That's what is throwing me off.
Wasn't he nasty for a while, Alex Gonzalez? Yeah, look at this. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
no.
Marlins.
Why is he?
There's two different Alex Gonzalez's.
Yeah, Alex S. Gonzalez. And I'm looking at the one that Pat's talking about, though. Yeah, 2003 World Series. Was he like a sick defender or something?
Yeah,
because
he was so good defensively.
Okay, that makes sense.
And following Edgar Renteria, too, Pat, as you said, like it just, you noticed every bit of his defense. That was fun.
Yeah. He wasn't great for the Red Sox, but he was like a decent shortstop. Look at
we literally didn't even give a shit about how he hit. It was just field the position.
That's
all I cared about at that point.
Pretty sure he hit 9 most of the time, 8 or 9. But whoa, his nickname is Seabass.
Naturally.
Seabass. Does Alex Hall have a nickname, or Matt Hall? No.
The Hall Pass.
Yeah, he gave everyone on the other team a Hall Pass.
On that note, thank you for tuning in to episode 122 of Play Tessie. Before you get on with your merry way, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, rate 5 stars, helps us out a ton. Obviously on YouTube on the Play Tessie podcast, or the Play Tessie playlist within the WEI channel. If you're already on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. We really appreciate when you guys do that. As always, on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Every series moving forward, and honestly, for months, every series has been so big, and they will continue to be big until either they make the playoffs or until the season ends. So, man, it feels like we're on life support. As I said, we will find out whether it was a misdiagnosis or if they are just eventually going to die. They could be dead by the next time we record. They could be within a game and a half or 2 games of a playoff spot by the next time we record. Every recording is just going to be so, I mean, just as dependent on what the Red Sox and the Twins do. So you just got to watch those 2 teams, watch the Sox games, keep an eye on the Twins score. And man, we'll catch up with you guys next time. We'll catch up tomorrow. We got an episode for you guys tomorrow, and then we'll follow that with an episode moving forward after that. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in to Play Tessie on this one. Peace.